Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa marhaba. Bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome to this interview for the Open Borders Institute. We are a small advocacy with the goal of changing perspectives on cross-border exchanges. This week, we welcome Francesca Romana d'Antuono.
There are a lot of discussions about the Common European Defense, which were held at the General Assembly of Volt Europa in Prague. An article was published by Paul von Bommel from the Volt Party, making the argument that the EU needs to research, develop, and procure weapons together by jointly replenishing EU-built weapon system, with the aim of delivering weapons aimed at defeating despots. So there are discussions about joint European procurement, but there does not seem to be any discussions about joint European arms exports, while the EU hosts the biggest international arms exporting countries, such as France, Italy, Spain, and Germany, who are all four countries are in the top 10. So how do you consider the future of the common European defense in that regard? Would you be in favor of developing joint European arms exports?
Thanks for asking this question. So one disclaimer, this is not my field of expertise. I'm happy to reply, but you probably would have more interesting conversations with people who really work on this. But I do have my perspective that I want to share. So common European defense, as you said, there are discussions about this. There seem to have some movements, then they go to a halt, then in my view, the projects are not ambitious enough, and most of all, they don't reply to the most important question, which is the governance that this common European defense would have. How do we do it without creating another monster? And I want to use this strong word, such as Frontex. Frontex per se is a good thing. We need to have someone who looks at the border, but the governance is so intransparent that they have been able to do unspeakable things with the money and in the name of the EU. So what you don't want to repeat is that same mess where the governance isn't clear, especially with something so delicate as the European defense.
So my second question focuses more on migration. It concerns the ocean-breaking diplomatic scandal between France and Italy. The French government criticized the unacceptable behavior of its neighbor, while Italy Prime Minister Meloni denounces the aggressive behavior of France. What do you think about this scandal, and more generally, on the migration and asylum management by the EU and its member states within the famous Dublin mechanism?
Yeah, so I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I think that, again, the underlying issue with migration is that there is no real common policy. The way it is structured now, all the pressure is with the countries that live at the border. So the first who receive the migrants, the refugees, etc. This means that this can be very easily weaponized. And this is what is happening. It's happening in Greece, it has happened in Italy, it has happened in Spain, in a variety of countries. So what I would like to see is a real common migration policy where the distribution is shared for real. That would enable, first off, to have, again, for this topic not to be constantly weaponized, because in the end, this means that the price is paid by the people who are coming to the EU and who are trying to find a new home here. The second point is, reform that with clearer rulers, clearer rules, clear responsibilities, and shared responsibility, but also the system that I mentioned before. So we have the European, Frontex, the European system patrolling our coasts, who has been found, documented, guilty of human rights violations that are unspeakable. So honestly, instead of talking of 300 people, or I don't know how many they were on the boat that arrived to Italy, I would be more concerned in understanding what is happening with the Coast Guard in the EU. Last point that I would like to make is, again, a point of structure. The way it works now, the migration system, it leaves a lot of space to single countries, right? So Italy has renewed recently their agreements with the Libyan Coast Guards, but there's no Libyan Coast Guard. There are a bunch of terrorists exploiting and killing people. And this is happening because a European country is enabling them to do this. So in the impossible collaboration with the European member states, because everybody's pushing the ball their own direction, what happens is that we keep on financing terrorists to imprison and torture people. I don't know how we can be, how do we think we're going to solve this, you know, if we don't really step up our game when it comes to this. I hope I've replied. This really passions me, so sometimes I go a bit out of my way, because I feel this is one of the issues that is really at the core of this union. I was mentioning before that I don't believe the EU should be like America's Trump, you know, so European first. No, I think the EU is important as a place to welcome everybody and to flourish the potential of everybody. It's fun that you mentioned maternity, because of course it goes a bit in that direction. So okay, when you say maternity, the point is that it becomes immediately a topic of women, which is, I mean, fair enough and important. But the way I look at it is that there is a very deep connection between economic power, or anyway, the way the economy is built, and social equality. So the matter of gender equality, for example, when you look into it in depth and in depth, is really a matter of economic power. When we talk about maternity, the point is that in a lot of countries, it's still something that is just bound to the woman. And of course, fair enough, if the woman is the person who gives birth usually, but it's not the only parent. So the systems that have proven more successful are those where there's not only maternity leave, but there's parental leave. So you can choose who takes the leave, and the system encourages that kind of behavior. I've been researching on this a lot because of what I told you, and really this is a question of how the economic system is built, but also how the culture receives this kind of changes. So there are systems in which, for example, the parental leave is equal between parents, but the cultures do it so that men don't ask for paternal leave because it's looked down. This is the case. I remember the case, for example, I know that in Korea is like that. I don't remember any EU state, but I know that in Korea is like that. So this is valid for maternity, but it's valid for a variety of topics. It's valid for disability rights. Ultimately, it's about the kind of job that you're gonna name, the kind of economic power that you're gonna name. It's true for people in the LGBTIQ+ community. It's true for ethnic minorities, for migrants. It's true for all of this. So the thing that passionates me the most is the silver line between social equality, meaning the rights of expressing oneself, of achieving, of having a good life or a free life or whatever you want, and how much this is linked to the economic system. So I find that in the end, this is the real question that matters. If you enable economic power for people, the part of civil rights immediately advances.